The Middle East, where a wave of violence has reached the point where the Obama administration feels it's time to step in. Secretary of State John Kerry is now set to travel to the region in the hopes of meeting with both Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in an attempt to ease tensions that have escalated dramatically in recent weeks. Security has been ramped up in the wake of violence that has killed 8 Israelis and 31 Palestinians. Despite the added law enforcement, 2 assaults took place Wednesday. One, stabbing of a 70-year-old Israeli woman in Jerusalem. In addition, a 19-year-old Palestinian man was shot for allegedly trying to stab Israeli police officers. Msnbc's Ayman Mohyeldin was an eyewitness to the shooting. It happened just feet from where he was standing about 24 hours ago right now. Ayman, good morning. These incidents happen despite the fact that there are more and more police and soldiers on the streets, right?
Yeah, certainly yesterday's incidents happened despite that presence, because it was the night before that the Israeli security cabinet took the decision to beef up security at places like the Old City, to beef up security at bus stations and other parts, and in fact impose some of these closures on some of the Arab neighborhoods in East Jerusalem and elsewhere in the country. So Israel's security posture had changed, but despite that, the incident still happened yesterday. And I think that is a major cause of concern for security officials. That is because many of these attacks seem to be, for now at least, lone wolf type of attacks, that these are not coordinated by any of the Palestinian militant groups or political groups that in the past have been behind a wave of attacks inside Israel. What Israel is trying to do is perhaps create a deterrent. At least that's what the Israeli security assessment says. They have now given a notice to 2 families of Palestinian attackers that carried out stabbings inside Israel that resulted in the death of Israeli citizens. They've given them a notice to evacuate their homes because they're going to demolish their homes within the next 48 hours if they don't appeal the decision. And that type of action and reaction, if you will, is part of the low-level fuel that continues to push this cycle of violence. Whether or not this is going to actually deter any potential attackers, whether or not it is going to bring any sense of stability and security, that is always the assessment of the Israeli government as they try to evaluate the situation. They're talking about things like not returning the families of many of these attackers to return the bodies, rather, of these attackers to their families, to bury them in military sites, to demolish their homes. So they're constantly looking at what could happen besides the physical security that they've beefed up around the country to try and prevent these attacks. Palestinians say all of these actions that Israel does are a form of collective punishment and continue to fuel that violence that we're seeing.
And Ayman, you know, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're at the exact location where you were yesterday when the shots rang out about 15 minutes after the hour. How are things changed there? Is the situation tense? Does the same security situation continue today?
We are literally exactly in the same spot where we were yesterday. We've been here for the better part of the last 24 hours, just with a few hours of rest in between. Today is a Muslim holiday. It is the New Year of the Islamic calendar. The traffic here is still very much like what we saw yesterday in terms of the pedestrians going in and out. Not quite the same number of folks. We've seen some Western tourists make their way into the Old City. It is a very popular tourist destination. It seems that they're not deterred by some of the incidents and the attacks that have been taking place. The security posture around the perimeter of the Old City and inside still very much the same. In fact, at the same checkpoint that Palestinians were being searched at yesterday, it is still here today. I can see it right off to my right. Still about half a dozen soldiers here, and further down into the entrance of the Damascus Gate as well, continued presence of the border police on the outskirts of the Old City. So I would say that the atmosphere remains tense, though the traffic in and around the Old City seems to continue to move freely right now.
Ayman Mohyeldin in Jerusalem, thank you very much.